Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of the workshop series where we discuss guides and strategies to ensure a better and longer lasting experience in No Rest for the Wicked. Today, I wanted to discuss 5 major areas of interest that are directly tied to your success as both a new and a returning player, given the changes in the Together update and in combat and crafting system. This guide will have 5 major areas of importance, starting with gear crafting, points allocation, surviving the learning curve, single player versus co-op builds, and money management. So, with that out of the way, let's get started with crafting. Crafting has been totally revamped in this update. What you need to do first is you need to get yourself a scribe table. A scribe table will obviously have 2 levels of quality, one being simple and the other one being adapt. Simple is only able to research items that are indicated with this yellow shield, and the items that are indicated with the green shield are only going to be researchable on an adapt scribe table. Every item that you have encountered in the game is available to you for research. You can also use a function called random research, and you will basically randomly research any available item in the category that you have not encountered before. This is currently bugged right now, so when you use it, nothing happens. But if there is an item that you've encountered before, you can basically click on it, spend the appropriate amount of research papers, and now this item is going to be craftable by you. These items include all the structures, quick items, food, tools, armor, offhand weapons, and weapons. So without getting too detaily here, let's look at our current scenario on hand. I want to make myself the best pair of Nith Grove binders possible. The way you do that is first you have to make sure that you have encountered it once, you have also researched it. Then you will go to your anvil and you will, there's a chest here, usually. Well, these bugs will be sorted soon. Anyways, so you go to the anvil if you want to make yourself a weapon, or you will go to your sewing table if you want to make yourself a piece of armor. The only part of your weapons and armor that are not adjustable are the facets. The facets are completely random and you have no agency over them. So, for example, if you look, you have dense facet here. Facets have an upside and a downside. I'm not going to discuss facets in detail here, and I will leave that for another time. But I will show you some resources that you can look at and look at an extensive array of facets that are available in order to make up your mind about what you want to do with your gear and your weapon. So, first, you have to choose what facet you want. I wanted to get the sharp facet, so I made a whole bunch of Nith Grove binders until I found the facet that I wanted. I think I made a total of 24, and of the 24, only one had the sharp facet on it. The chance of you getting the facet that you want is extremely low, so be prepared to make multiple badges. And once you have the one that you want, now you have to make a decision at this point. Do you want to go the deterministic pathway, or do you want to go the probabilistic way? Or do you want to gamble on your gear, or do you want to work for your gear? If you want to gamble for your gear, you will do it as you've done it before, and you will take your gear to Eleanor, and Eleanor will enchant it for you. There's a chance that it will be either blue or it's going to be plagued word. That's the chance you take. If you're going down that pathway, obviously you're going to have multiple ones up. You're going to have, at least in my experience, you're going to have 10 in order to at least get one of the plagued ones. You can take 5 there and you'll get like 5 magical ones. Or you can take 1 there and the first one is going to be plagued. There's no guarantee. But in my experience, while the magic number for me has been 6, so out of the 6, usually 1 ends up being plagued. So if you have 6, you can give it a try, but a safer number would be 10. Again, the probabilistic way of doing this, there is a science behind it, but the science is not exact. So we're going to look at it as gambling. If that's the pathway you'll take, that is going to cost you a lot more in crafting. So that's what you do. You will make enough and you will turn it into a plagued version. That's the first step. However, if you want to go the deterministic way, what you need to do is you need to grab yourself a whole bunch of these embers. And let me get rid of the stuff that's in there so I can... Actually, we can do that later. So what you want to find yourself is a corrupting ember. Why is this not sorted? Okay, that's better. We can do that. All right. So where are we? What you want is a corrupting ember. The way a corrupting ember works is that you use it on a white item and it will turn it into a plagued item. So you'll take the corrupt ember, use it on that, and now you've gotten yourself a pretty decent Nith Grove Binders. I wasn't counting on that, but hey, here we are. I was going to take the this essence and show that, but anyways, we'll get to that part later. So now you have yourself an item with the right facet. It's also plagued. Now the next step is to get the right affixes on it. The way you would get the right affixes on it, again, now you have 2 choices. You can either gamble on this or you can build it. The way you gamble on this is you will take your fallen embers and then you will use your fallen ember on your item and you will gamble to see if you will get the affix that you want. Again, there's a science to this. There's a better way to get the right possibilities, but at the end of the day, it's gambling. At this point, if you want to gamble with it, you need to know about enchantment categories. For example, damage increase that you see marked with a sword, that is in the attack category. Then you have gain health, that's in the healing category. You can only have one of each category unless it is in the general purpose or utility category, which is marked by that little sideways square. You see gain 17% health and backstab. You can have multiple one of this category, but only one of the other categories. To familiarize yourself better with this concept, I refer you to Warland's No Rest for the Wicked Bible. It will be in the description and you can see what the categories are and you can decide whether you want to gamble on it or not. There's also a new website available finally from Dammit, which has a build maker and a lot of different resources that you can use to your advantage. I will also link that in the description. So if you want to gamble, you gamble. But if you don't want to gamble, what you will do is you will look throughout the world and you will find gear that has the affixes you are looking for. These affixes can be anything from damage increase against large monsters, critical hit, or anything of the sort. One of the ones that is really hard to get is, I have it here. Critical damage increase. What you can do is you'll take an essence ember, and you will extract the affix that you're looking for. You'll click on this affix. This says the item should be permanently destroyed after this. So let's see. Oh, the item is destroyed. In the previous attempt I did, the item was not destroyed. So the item was destroyed, but I get to keep this affix. And then I can use this affix. And then I can put this affix on the weapon. You see, I now have critical damage and also damage increase against large monsters. Now I can do the same thing with taking that affix out of this weapon and putting it there, but since we are already at a really good spot, what you can do is you can now use Radiant Embers. Radiant Embers will boost up your affixes by 15% per use. So if I use it here, it will boost me up to 23%, 55, and then I can use 4 more. Well, I can use 4 in total in order to get to full potency. So if I use 4 of these, I will go from 40% to 100% potency, which will be 30% damage against large enemies. So this can be used on any of the affixes except for your downside. And that basically concludes the 2 pathways you have in order to make the perfect gear. Either stock up on these embers and create them as you see fit, or gamble on them with fallen embers. It's up to you. I think I have covered everything I wanted to cover for gear crafting, and that brings us to the second part of this guide, which is gear points allocation. This is a question I get almost every day on stream or in the comments section, where everyone's asking, how do you allocate your point? This is an extremely important point, which is sort of tied to the next point coming up, being surviving the learning curve of the game. This is basically how I see should be done for a new player. If you are an experienced player, this probably doesn't apply to you. But let's discuss this from the point of view of a new player. When you're just starting out, what I suggest is you put 2 points into your health and 1 point into stamina the first time you level up. Second time you level up, put another 2 more points into your health and put 1 point into your focus. You will alternate between focus and stamina while putting 2 points every time into health until you reach 20 points in health, 16 points in stamina, 13 points in focus. At that point, I think you will be where you have now picked up a weapon that you like. Once you've picked up a weapon that you like, you will know which of the attributes you need to invest in order to get more damage. For example, this weapon needs dexterity and faith. At this point, what I would do is when you get 3 points after leveling up, put 2 of those points into your damage stat. And the last one, you can either keep it or you can invest it in a stat that you think or you feel needs improving. If you're running out of stamina, put it in stamina. If you want to do more rune attacks and you want to have more focus, then put it in focus. If you feel like you don't have enough health, put it in health. But don't put more than 2 points of damage during the early stages of the game into your damage attribute. Put 2 into your damage after you've reached 20 points in health, 16 points in stamina, and 13 points in focus, either in health stamina, or focus. Only 2 of them should go to your damage at that point. This will ensure that you are not giving up survivability for damage. Remember, you are not going to do any damage. You're not going to be doing any damage if you are dead. Doing less damage and dying less is better than doing a ton of damage and dying all the time. Frustration is not grounds for learning, and as a new player, you don't want frustration. That is my recommendation on how to allocate your points as a new player during the early stages of the game. Now, the next point is, as I said, which is tied to the decisions we made in the second part, is surviving the learning curve. This game can be punishing at first. There are no 2 ways about it. Combat is methodical and it demands your investment in it. In order to understand survivability, we have to define it. Survivability in this game comes from 3 attributes, not attributes in the form of attribute points. I'm saying attributes of your character. One of them, the most important one, is damage resistance. This comes from your armor. Second is your health pool, and third, which is not the least important, I think it's probably the most important, and it's probably the most overlooked one, is movement speed. Movement speed in this game, aside from some rings, is directly tied to your weight class. You need to be either at normal or lightweight class when you are learning the game. The movement speed that you get from it will give you the ability to choose the distances between you and your challenges without spending stamina. It's both a defensive and an offensive advantage to have the right movement speed, and I have tried to show that in a lot of my videos, where you can dodge enemy attacks and basically dance around them if you have the right movement speed without having to spend stamina and run around. Early on, this is very important because you need to learn spacing. If you don't have the ability to keep your spacing correctly, you will be frustrated at the game, and that's not good. The other thing is you need to learn how to dodge, and you need to learn how to parry. Parrying has been revamped and it is a lot more accessible now. So you need to learn it because it's a good weapon to have in your arsenal, and I think it's a part of enjoying the game systems that are made available to you. It's not integral. You can play this game just fine without parrying ever. If you like dodging, all the power to you. But what I can tell you is that if you completely overlook it, then you are basically overlooking what the game has to offer to you. If you want to learn how to parry, you need to be tanky enough to learn how to parry. It's about timing, yes, but a lot of it is on reaction nowadays, and the timing of it is very, 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 very easy comparatively. If you don't have enough survivability, then what that translates to is a higher cost to parrying, which means if you miss, you can die. You don't want that. You want to be able to miss and not die. And if you can consistently do that, then you will improve your parrying. Survivability in the form of damage resistance, health, and movement speed, which is determined by your weight class, is what will help you conquer the learning curve in this game. You're not bad. You may be underscaled. You might be underinformed. You're not bad. You need to learn the game systems, and you will be rewarded for that. Now, the next point I want to talk about is single player versus co-op builds. Now, this is aimed at both new and returning players and content makers. If you're out there and you're watching this, please understand that co-op builds are going to be different than single player games. We tested this extensively yesterday during a 9-hour, I think we went for 9 or 10 hours of streaming. Things are different in 2-player co-op than 3-player and 4-player. In a 3 to 4-player setting, you no longer are able to take advantage of extremely offensively optimized gear like this. Instead, you need to focus on damage reduction and physical damage reduction, and also elemental resistances in order to have a viable build. So, long story short, make sure if you're following a guide, or if you're following somebody who is your favorite content creator, make sure they make a distinction that the build that they have made is co-op viable. A lot of builds are not going to work in co-op past maybe a 2-person co-op. Again, if you're a content creator, please consider this, and let's not make clickbait videos. It's not that hard to make game-breaking builds, but if we are here for the community and we're actually trying to provide a service, I think we need to be honest about it. Lastly, and I will cut this short at this point, is money management. Everything is more expensive in the game right now, from buying embers to repairs to enchantments. You need to be careful of how much capital you have. So sell everything that you don't need, keep everything that has the affixes that you like, and with that, I think I have concluded this guide. Hopefully you all have a great time tomorrow and over on the weekend. If you've been on the fence about the game and you've been wanting to try it, here, this is your chance. This is a free weekend coming up. Grab the game, enjoy it. As always, have fun, be kind to each other, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you, and bye bye.